Well, hi guys, hopefully this finds you well. My name is Paul, this is Plan Z, welcome to the session. Now you might be wondering why we're looking at the piece of paper, I want to talk to you about two little moments of inspiration. One of them came last night when I saw a video, or night before last, when I saw a video by some guy using post-production techniques, and I learned about parallel EQ. So this session is about parallel EQ and EQ in general, and me going on a bit of a journey trying to get the best out of Boss GT1000 cabinets. But this, if you use a modeler and you're a geek and you're inspired by valve tones and you're trying to get these kind of tones out of your modeler, this could be a good trick to use to understand things, and it can be used in different ways. It can be used as a tool and it can be used as a tone. And I'm going to show you in this video how I plan to use it in a few different ways, and a couple of little things I've learnt along the way that could be of interest if you like working in mono and you use a Boss GT1000 core or 1000. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be coming up from our amp, so preamp effects are off the page, and we're going to hit the cabinet. Yeah, so let's just make that look a bit like a cabinet. So we're going to hit our cabinet. The second point of inspiration is I was told by a friend of mine the other day that it would be really helpful for him and possibly others if I draw out a plan of some of the things that we talk about before we get into the settings. So I'm going to attempt that. Let's see how this goes. So my cabinet is here, and what I plan to do in the GT1000, we can split our signal chain, and this is the trick. I'm going to use one divide to split my signal chain into an A and B. I'm then going to use another two divides to split the signal further, so that my signal is split 4 times. Then I've got an EQ block, 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm just going to finish off these divides. So those divides then come together here, where they will go off to a compressor. So that's a comp. And then we're going to go out the main jack. Now I use my sub outs to do this because I route differently to most people, but just when I say sub outs, to you equate that as being your main outs. Now this seems like an extravagant use of divides and EQs. There's 3 EQ blocks, that I'm going to use. Now let's just understand what I plan to do with those. What we'll do is let's keep that there because we might want to reference it again. So imagine it like this. We've got EQ1, EQ2, 3 and 4, and I'm doing them right off the side of the page here because I want as much space as possible. So EQ1 is going to go from 125 Hertz low cut to a high cut, for example, of 400 Hertz. EQ2 is going to go from 400 to, I don't know, let's say 1000, 1K. EQ3 goes from 1K to, I don't know, let's say 4K. 4K to 10K. Okay? And they've all got low pass filters, high pass filters doing something like this. So you then have in EQ1, in channel 1, up here, you create your EQ for the low end, let's say. Or the other way around, depending on how you choose to lay it out. But I've gone low end, low mids, upper mids, high end, okay? So that's how those frequencies there are working. What we're going to do now is I've set it up using a couple of different ways of working. 1, to create a patch, and 2, let's just come out of here. Go down to my first patch. So here you can see GT multiband. What we're going to do is going to go in and let's try and focus in on that screen a little bit. So we've got GT multiband EQA, EQ B. We've then got my first stereo experiment. I might show you that. There was an interesting thing I did using the multiband, but then I set up a stereo patch here using what I learnt from the first two patches, and I set up a stereo patch where I've got two amps that have two gain stages, go from medium to high gain, but I've got the gain quite low at 50, I think. We've got a reverb, we hit a cabinet, and here I've split the cabinets because I prefer the tone splitting the cabinets. Now here my main outs feed out to two notes where I've got the level down, I feed out. But taking this strategy, I've got at the back here two spare divides, and if I run a 1 amp patch, I can free up this other divide and go funky with the effects. My ambition here is to be using solely GT1000 cabinets for my amplifiers using this patch as a stereo patch. Now I'll also run it in mono as well. Now I do it like this because I like running the cabinets separately, okay? And I'm going to come back to you and talk to you about this patch in a moment. The purpose of the video is, and let's start off in A. Everything is the same. They're a copy of each other. The only difference between A and B is that A is on blend A of the Ribbon 121 and the 57, and the B one is on blend B. Okay? I've got the position in the middle, and the reason I put it in the middle is because when you mic an amp and you're playing and you're EQing a track, if you know anything about post-production and pre-production, you might realize that the closer you have your mic to your amplifier, your cone, you get what's known as bass build-up. There's a low-end build-up, and if you back the mic off, because of the proximity effect of the microphone, it hits nicer and it manages the bass a bit better if you just back the microphone off. If you're right on top of your, like on the short, and you've been EQing the hell out of your amps and you're still booming and you're still not happy with your tone, just try backing it off and starting again with your EQ. You might get to a different place. Now, for these blends, I've left the mic in the middle and at full volume on both for the time being, okay? We'll see how we get on with this. Now, after the cabinet, I've done exactly what I described. Yeah, but let's go in. I'm going to pick up a guitar now, and let's start to understand how we can use this one as a tool. And I want to show you a little something about mono patches. I don't know if Boss know that you can use them as a stereo patch. So, let's go to the end of the chain here so we can understand what's going on in this first little bit. I just want to get a cheeky little tip out the way. We're in effects 4, which if you've got a Boss GT1000 or Core, I'm in mono, which gives me 4 effects blocks for the special effects rather than 3, but it does mean I'm running in mono. So if I bring up my neck pickup, we're on a medium gain. That reverb's up in the middle, right? And if I put on a delay, my delay is up the middle, right? But did you know that if you moved your reverb, and I'm going to go after the compressor because I've got a mono compressor on here, but did you know that I'm in stereo now? I've got my ping pong delay, and the audience wouldn't give a shit how I'm routing it. All they care about is what they hear. So I just want to level that and sort that out. So I could use this patch, using it in mono to get the extra block, and still run stereo reverbs and delays, choruses. Brilliant. Maybe not the choruses, because I think the choruses probably are better before the cabinet, but we'll see. I'm going to experiment with that. So we're on a medium gain. I'm just going to pull back the gain pot to about 7. Let's turn off those delays. Pull your donut. You moved the wrong thing. Look at me. Look, I must be going blind. I saw it eventually. Okay. compressor on at the end, and what it's doing is very little. You'll notice the sustain, the attack is at 50. I've got the level at 35. I've got the tone up at 10. I'm using a 1.6:1 ratio. This is important. It's very soft. We're not compressing the hell out of this. We're just wanting to hold everything together in the mix. Give it a bit of an amp-like thump, and we're gonna. We've got the direct mix coming through at 30. So if I turn that off, let's go. This is the back pickup now. Got the gain on about 7.5. So you see it's very subtle. So when I'm using high gains, we're not compressing, over compressing. This is with blend A, remember. Let's just come out of this patch for a moment and listen to the difference between blend A and blend B. So let's go to the next. So there's highs, the lows aren't too boomy, it's nice. Oh, let's save that with the gain off. This one, blend B, we've got more with ribbon 121. So there's more body to it. And I think the highs are nicer. This patch here is a stereo patch that I showed you at the beginning. And one of the things I want to do in here is straight away, when I go to stereo with this, and this is an adjustment I didn't make when I put the patch together, is I like to drop the 57 a little bit. In the GT1000 it's quite strong. So I'm only dropping it by 3. Now to me, my ears can immediately hear that I didn't use the same technique on that patch to build the tone as these two. Let's compare that to 2 Notes Cab M. So this patch, I haven't actually done the adjustments to the EQ that I'm going to show you in a moment, and I've got the EQ set up before the 2 notes, before the output, but I do put it after the cabinet because it does change the tone slightly. But I'm running through, I've set it up so that I can work with it, but the first thing I wanted to do was work on my GT1000 cabs. So let's go into A and have a look at what's going on. Now A will have less lows to deal with but more highs, and what's going on is, as I say, we've got, let me just get to here so this is a bit more in the middle. Sorry, I'm having a, there we go, lovely. So number 1 is dealing with lows, 2 low mids, high mids, highs. I'm going to go to this one and I'm going to turn down all of that one, and I'm going to go to this mixer here, turn down both of these two so that all we can hear is the upper mids. Now let's take the compressor off. So all of a sudden it's gone very quiet, hasn't it? Because we're very focused. We've only got this small band of frequencies that we're dealing with. Now we could change the shape of this by lowering that. Let's boost that. That's a nicer tone there, isn't it? So let's just pull this back a little bit to make a bit more of that. Now what I am doing in here is I'm cutting to 0.5. Now why am I cutting 2.5? I've cut 10 dB of it. Let's bring it up. Oh, nasty frequency. Nasty frequency. Just gone to the neck. Going to pull that guy out. Now what you want to do is, once you've got your frequencies isolated the way I have, you can then scroll around and have a look for the offenders. So 2, 5, 3. Like, they're all going to sound a bit off key when you, when I mean off key, I mean a bit uncomfortable when you boost them on a tight cue like this, but it helps you find frequencies that are not harmonious. So what I am going to do is pull that bad boy out to -10 where I was. Okay, so I've gone through the patch getting rid of those kind of frequencies. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave that bump to the 125. Was it 125 or 1? So I'm going to leave that there. I like that for the high mids, and high mids is very audible to the human ear, so we need to be careful here. Now what I'm going to do is just see what happens when I introduce the highs to that. So just going to bring this up. Good, so nothing offensive happened there. And that's because what I've done is I've taken out 315, which is another offensive frequency, and I didn't find anything else that I wanted to take out there, but I did want to make more of the 8K, so I've boosted 8K by 1 dB on a wide cue. And those two sound nice together, like that. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take out the highs, and I'm going to go to the low mids, leaving the mids where they are. Let's just have a look at what I've done before I start adjusting. So we've got 500 taken out there, and I'm boosting 8. Well, it's probably not wise to boost 8 if I'm boosting 1K. So let's have a look at what happens here. So I'm going to bring this up to 100. And I'm going to have a little look. It's actually not offending me at the moment. I wonder if... let's just move that down to 630. Let's just boost it. Now that 800 is giving us more of those mids. I think 125 would be a better place to boost if I was boosting it. Hang on. See, that's got more bite to it, so that's where our bite is. So let's do that. I'm going to try that to start out with. Now then, let's see if that works. Let's go back to the medium. Something happening there that I don't like. What I'm going to do is pull this back to the 3. Get rid of the reverb for a minute. Might have just been the reverb because we've got the other frequencies off. So let's now bring in these lows. There's our warmth. So now the trick is not to adjust anything in this first page at all. Deal only with the EQ here, and if we want more or something later, we can then go there. Save it as a in your pocket tool. So here I'm taking out 250. Let's have a look. That's why. 315 is a bit boomy as well. 400's on the edge. They're all going to boom a bit. So I'm going to pull that right down. Might just look to open it up slightly. Okay, so I'm going to leave that there for the moment, and now I'm going to bring it up. I just want to look at the balance actually between these two. So let's just get rid of this side. So I'm using this mixer now to just mute these two, and this is the lows. Wonder about that 800. I think this is a nicer frequency to pick. So I'm going to stay there, and then I'm going to bring this side up. So let's bring in these highs. I'll stay in the high gain for that. So there we go. Now what have I done in here? Just taken out the problem frequencies. Flatten that. So I've gone the other way. I've pulled the 8K back and chosen to pull out 5K. And now I'm just going to bump the highs. Put on the verb. Treble booster, we've got a treble booster in the patch. Down the front here. Right, I'm going to stay like that for the moment, and I'm going to tell you about the amp. The amp is set up the same in all of the patches, or the first two patches are set up the same basically. So the low gain, which is here. Gain at 70, sag in the middle, resonance at 5 because I prefer how the highs sit, and then I EQ that resonance further down the chain. I've got the level at 58, 45 bass, 60 mids, 67 trebs, and the presence there. On 6. I'm going to leave it on 7. The presence is like a bright control here. The further up it is, the less tops you have. Now, with the medium gain, I've got the gain at 70, the sag on 1, resonance on 5 again, level at 50, Bass on 37 this time, but the mids up at 70, 67 on the highs, and the presence. I think I like that presence there. On 6. Yeah, let's keep it on 6. I just dropped my pick. Let's get another one. Okay, so the high gain, when I go to the high gain, it's this amp here which switches, and when I do that I drop a bit of the bass off to 20, trebs to 60, everything else the same there, but the gain goes up to 100 and the sag to 7. Level remains at 50. Okay, so that's what's going on in here. I'm just going to save that and go to B. Let's hear what the difference is. I've made no adjustments in this one yet. See, I prefer this already. So let's go in. So everything down here is exactly the same. Now when we get to here, I will be managing things slightly differently. Now, here, what have I done? I've pulled back the low mids with ribbon 121. That kind of makes sense. What are the frequencies being pushed? Yeah, the 650C, that works well for me on the Vox, because it's already got a lot of those mids around the 800. Boosting them can be a problem. What have I done here? I've got a little extra there because the ribbon 121 fuller in the mix gives us the room to boost that 125 a bit more. Let's look at what's going on with the highs. See, I might take the same riff. What I'm going to do is just check this. So I'm just going to get rid of everything on the one side, and then I just want to check this thing with this 8K here. Let's go the other way. Now I'm going to bring up the highs a couple, having taken out. Yeah, I think that might be better. So now let's bring in the mids. Softening this bump where the 125 is. I'm making it a wide Q and only 1 dB. Just to soften the lows. Leaving this cut here out. With how all that's sitting at the moment. But you see here it's the 125 that we're pushing. So with the other blend, I was finding it a bit aggressive, that 125, but it works well with the blend B. Because didn't we go to 1K? in this one. Now this might, I've just suddenly had this vision of you yawning. Wake up. I know it's boring. Okay, so it's not, it's actually learning about frequencies. So what we can do now is this patch, I've actually saved it as a working patch. I'm going to show you in a minute how I plan to use it. But let's talk about what happened when I tried making that concept stereo. Now I showed you another stereo patch a minute ago, but this one I've tried to implement the same EQ technique, okay? But let me tell you where I ended up, and I'm just going to tweak it a bit more because I didn't end up yet. This got halfway through, and then I did the other one I showed you. I put the low cut down here, okay? Because I don't have all of the divides to do the full 4 split. But what I've done is I've then, when you get to here, I've used the same principle but just done it across 3. So here, what's really important is that with this one down here, you've got your low cut is happening in this block, 125, but all the other frequencies go through the amp, okay? Then what I'm dealing with here is all of the frequencies come through, and the high cut is in at 800. So I'm obviously dealing with the frequencies here, what, 600, okay, and 500, okay. So that's quite safe and quite obvious. So that's the low mids to 800. Then this one is where the low cut comes in to take off from where that one is. Are you with me? So we don't lose our lows. And I've gone up to 315 there. So it's it's just a wider EQ suite, but you've still only got the 2 parametric EQs in there to choose from. And boss, with EQ, can you give us more frequencies to choose from? You've given us a full frequency unit, and to use your cabinets, which are full frequency, like I'm going to turn these off in a minute so you can hear how these cabinets hurt your head. Give us the frequencies in the EQ blocks, please, so we can really, really do it. They're not full frequency EQ blocks. Like, we've got 4 EQ blocks, but we've got, I think I counted it once, you've only got about 20 frequencies to choose from. If you added up all the frequencies that are in a graphic and in a parametric. Sorry, that's me having my little grumble. What have I done here? 2.5 is that offensive frequency we found, and here pushing the 1K. What blend am I on? Blend B. So let's push that there. And this is it. Working this way, all of a sudden, you're able to, in your head, when you're learning about EQs, in the beginning, you can't really hear what other people are talking about. Sometimes you can, sometimes you can't. Not everyone can hear everything, if that makes sense. But when you start working like this, all of a sudden you go, that sound that I don't like, that frequency, I know exactly where that is. It's in this region here, and I just got to locate it, and boom. Straight away, you know what you need to do. Let's turn that off. So the thing here is this block here is dealing with just the highs then, I imagine. Let's just move that. Did you hear that little ringing go away between the two? Okay, so I'm going to leave that patch like that. I've shown you the strategy. The thing here is it's in stereo, and if I remember right, the actual patch is in stereo, and I'm using a stereo compressor at the end here, yeah? And this enables me to use this other divide down here. Okay, but I still think that sounds a bit abrasive. I maybe need to dial it in a bit more. But when I compare it to this one, now in here, I still feel like that 57. This is the one where I split the cabinets. The 57 still feels loud. I'm going to stick that on 95 for the moment. And then what I'm going to do is test these patches. So if you followed the channel for a little while, it's been a long time since I've done this. This is going to be exclusively Boss GT1000 cabinets in a stereo mix. Let's give this a little go. Let's go stick a compressor on. Go and neck pickup. Using the RC600 to take some loops. Let's get into record mode. Try taking a loop. And then I'm going to stay in the low gain, but I'm going to go to the other amplifier, and I'm going to stick on a fuzz, go to the back pickup, roll back all the gain, all the tone, and then bring up the tone a little bit and the gain a little bit. What I'm going to do is stay in this channel with the fuzz. I'm going to go to the back pickup now. We were on the back pickup already, but I'm going to bring the gain and the tone up. What we're going to do is change the vibe. Start playing in another part now. We'll take the verb off. Could have maybe pulled back the pickup a bit more, but let's sort it, let's go for it. So I'm going to turn the fuzz off, stick on a clone, on the back pickup, stick on a verb. Dear, I've forgotten about that. In this bloody, I've set the thing that it engages the pedal effect, but I don't ever use that switch at the top, and sometimes I hit it hard and I need to set the parameter so it doesn't trigger the pitch thing. Okay, so we've got just the reverb. Sorry about that. Let's pull that verb back. That didn't go as smoothly as I wanted it to. So let's go back pickup. We're going to go gain on around 7. We're going to bypass the loopers. And we're going to come in good and heavy with a treble boost on the high gain with a little bit of verb. And we're going to do a quick round with A and then a quick round with B and see how they sound you've seen how they're set up. Three, four. Okay. I personally prefer B. They both work well. They said they're slightly different tones. So now I've got two templates of Vox amps that I quite like with a really unusual EQ, but this is a great mono patch. By the time I've assigned the effects in here, the tone, I just need to tweak the amp a little bit. Really like how things are working. And I've got a B version of it. So I'll save those two somewhere in my GT1000. And then what I will do is keep these two here and stick different amps into it, and then go through the same process again, learn where they are, stick those templates, and then in my GT1000 I'll have one of each amp where I've gone through this process, and I'll know exactly when I'm not using something else, or if I just want to use the GT1000 with no other gear, I can just go out and I know my cabinets are not going to be too offensive. Because let's go in. This is what it sounds like without any of the EQ. Now, this isn't essential, remember. I've only done this to understand if a trick that I saw in a computer by a pro in a recording studio, if GT1000 was able to do what he did, and it is. So this is without the EQ and the compressor, the amp straight in. And I think that's a nicer starting point. So I'm going to save that, keep that like that. And yeah, hopefully we've enjoyed the session and it's been interesting. Hopefully when I hear this back on YouTube land, I'm going to hear my GT1000 cabinets in a different way. I've got to be honest, up until I've kind of got to this kind of figuring out the couple of different ways that I've shown you, I've really hated my experience of using the GT1000 cabinets. And every time I go to the tuner, it's like a breath of fresh air. Like I don't think about my cabinets. I'm only thinking about cabinets when I'm in a GT1000 using its own. But this hopefully might be helping me solve problems and how I can build simpler versions of that. Often in life when I've been problem solving, I've tried to think of the most complicated. Sometimes when you're looking for an ideal solution of management, you see something, you go, yeah, I want to achieve that. And what he's doing was quite complicated, breaking it down into 4 frequencies, the 4 frequency chunks like that. And going, could I do that only using 2? Could have been a starting point. But I thought, you know what, screw it. Let's go and try and do the lot and then work backwards from there and do simpler patches using what I've learned and keeping it as a tool. So yeah, I'll stop waffling and shut up. See you later. Bye.